When I was a kid, I came across this awesome movie called The Wanderers, a gang movie set in the Bronx, New York, loosely based on real gangs. Names such as the FORDHAM Baldies, a group of white skinheads with one black dude. The Wongs, an Asian gang that can, quote, kill you with one chop. The Dale Bombers, who are the cool black dudes. And the Ducky Boys, quite possibly the most infamous in the whole movie. Unfortunately, this movie was overshadowed by another film that came out the same year, The Warriors. The Wanderers had a great soundtrack, a great storyline, and to this day, I've probably seen it 50 times. That's why I'm pretty excited to have this guest on my show today. He is the author of Lost Boys of the Bronx, the oral history of the Ducky Boys gang. Ladies and gentlemen, James Hannon. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, most definitely. I really appreciate you joining me, and most importantly, I appreciate you putting together this book. I had to buy one for me and one for my little brother, who was also a huge fan growing up, and I haven't got a chance to dig into it because I wanted to talk with you first, but as soon as we're finished, I'm gonna jump into this book and see what it has to offer. But before we even get into the book, The Ducky Boys, I want to talk a little bit about you and where you came from and how you got to where you are today. So let's take it all the way back. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Bronx. I grew up very close to Fordham Road, which is actually why the whole Wanderers appealed to me. The scene with the Fordham Baldies was 6 blocks away from my house. Mm. I mean, that pizza shop, I've eaten at that pizza shop.
Great.
But it was, it's a, so when I was a kid, so this movie came out in 79, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I was 12. And it was funny, like my brother used to work at Dollar Savings Bank. And Dollar Savings Bank is right around the corner from where that whole scene is. And he was telling me, they're filming this movie there. And they're closing off all the streets and they're putting old cars on the street. And he was totally into like the whole 50s scene. And it was the coolest thing. And then it happened, didn't think much of it. Then it came out. And I couldn't see it because it was an R-rated movie. And I was 12 years old.
Damn.
So I actually didn't see the movie until I was 18, believe it or not. But anyways, that's where I grew. That's the area I grew up, right in that, right, that area where they run down the alleyway.
Oh yeah.
You pass that going to my house. Okay. Leave the kid alone. I'm gonna be quoting all throughout this interview, dude. Oh my God, I'm a nerd. I'm gonna be doing that nerd shit. Sorry. if you love the Wanderers, it's fine with me because I do the exact same thing.
Nice.
But so now I grew up on 196th Street, which is close. Going through the whole book process. I was when I found out the gangs were real. I was like, oh wow, so the Fordham Baldies Fordham Baldies really didn't hang out in that area where they were filmed. They were more towards like Arthur Avenue, the Little East section of the Bronx. Right? I didn't know that, but I thought and found out they were real. And while looking at them as they were real gangs, I found out the Ducky Boys are real. In searching for the Ducky Boys, I found out that two of the founding members lived 300 feet away from my building growing up.
Damn.
So I would go to their house to trick or treat when I was a kid. It kind of blew my mind. Nice. And then living that close to Ducky Boys is why this book got written. Because the Fordham Baldies didn't want anything to do with me.
Did you pursue the Fordham Baldies first?
Of course, because they were the ones I knew were real. I didn't realize the Ducky Boys are actually real.
Gotcha.
But I got quite a few contacts, and none of them wanted to do me. I grew up Irish in that area, and the Ducky Boy, and the Fordham Baldies were mostly Italian gang. So these guys are back when I was doing it, they were in their 70s, and it was the whole Italian, Omerta, no, keep quiet. No one talks about nothing. So even though I lived close to it, I was still an outsider to the neighborhood. So they didn't want to talk to me. They thought I was ready to put them in jail. 50 years after everything happened.
So were the Fordham Baldies, to the best of your knowledge, obviously, in your research, were they portrayed? Did they look like the way they did in the movie? Bald heads. Do you know anything about the black dude? I'm curious how he.
I don't know anything about the black dude Clinton. No, that was Clinton Stitch's cousin. I forgot his name.
That's right. He was Clinton's cousin. That's right. Were they? So did they really have bald heads? Were they kin to skinheads or anything?
No, and it's weird that the Fordham Baldies, they weren't named because they didn't shave their heads. They were they all had that like 50s greaser look, and they had a leather jacket. And again, this is going back 10 years for me for writing the book. But it's going back even further. The stories they were told why the Fordham Baldies were called it was because of an Italian guy named Garibaldi. There's also again, I wrote this book 10 years ago, so some of the details aren't as exact as I remember them. I just talked to him when I wrote this, but there was a Garibaldi was one of the reasons why they ended it. But the other reason I've heard is that they were into the bald eagles, and that was on their leather jackets.
Oh shit! Okay.
Now, those are the two reasons I've heard from real people. I mean, again, they shave the head so the hair doesn't get in their eyes when they fight. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but they were real dudes. Okay. They basically they were some tough dudes. What I really think they were is I think they were the predecessor to joining the mob, like the actual mafia. Because a lot of the guys actually did go into the mob, which is, I guess, why a lot of them don't want to talk to me.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
And but yeah, because I mean, I found so many I found so many like news articles on not so many, but I found plenty of news articles on the Fordham Baldies. Like they would have these gang wars with the Harlem Red Wings, which are I mean, there was like a big. If you look up the Fordham Baldies versus the Harlem Red Wings, Red Wings. I think it's Red Wings. You can find New York Times articles on them. There was like a really big thing. They came in. The Harlem Red Wings came into the neighborhood, and they got into a fight. Two people died, and it was in the news for quite a while.
Yeah, 1954, Red Wings and Fordham Baldies. The Red Wings was a well-known and powerful Italian gang started in East Harlem. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole. Jefferson Park killing. It was at Jefferson Park, right?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'm just reading New York Times. I'm just kind of scrolling through. All right, keep going. Yeah, this is great.
So they're the Fordham Baldies. They were a real gang. Apparently, Dion the Muccia from Dion and the Wanderers, Dion from the Dion and the Belmonts was a Fordham Baldy. But it's funny. It's like each of the two gangs that are like really big to me are the Fordham Baldies and the Ducky Boys. Mm-hmm. They have a very famous singer. They have a very famous musician
called the Ducky Boys.
Yeah, the Ducky Boys have Ace Frehley. The Fordham Baldies have Deanna from Deanna and the Bellman. Both stories, they weren't real. They weren't full members. But Deanna, it looks like it might have been an honorary title. Deanna in his book tells it like he was a full member. That he was out there fighting people left and right. But from what I've heard from the people who would talk to me, believe it or not, there was an Irish Fordham Baldy, and he was the only one who did talk to me. And he was saying that Dion wasn't really part of the gang, but it was more of an honorary title. But Dion would deny that. But yeah, so that like he was their big icon of the time. But yeah, I mean, the Fordham Baldies were no joke. And again, a lot of it was legend, but they from what people in my neighborhood would tell me is that schools would literally close because, quote unquote, the Fordham Baldies were coming. It never materialized, but the legend of the Fordham Baldies was that big.
Damn.
So I don't know. Again, what I know about the Fordham Baldies from certain people who from Little Italy, and others is from my neck of the woods, which is more stories about them. I mean, same with Richard Price. Richard Price heard the same stories, and he was over on the other side of Botanical Gardens.
Okay. Do you know at estimate wise how big of a gang the Fordham Baldies was at their peak?
It would only be a guess. I mean, they're probably I would say about 100. If it's purely a guess. I mean, that might be on the high side, but I don't know how deep it went.
Okay.
Because they were also their they had like the intro gang. I can't remember the name. That was a Fordham. Oh God, I can't remember the name. It's in the book. I'm 10 years ago I knew this.
Yeah, it's all good.
But they had like a
baby Fordham Baldies type thing.
The baby ball. This is like a baby Baldy. That's what I'm going to call it for now, just because it's a cute name. But that wasn't what they were called.
Okay.
And they had a ladies auxiliary. There was like a lot of different. It was organized as kids would organize it.